Hi there and happy Beaujolais Day. Today's the third Thursday in November, and that's the day when the vignerons of the Beaujolais region of southern France allow the sale of their nouveau wines to commence. Obviously it's been shipped slightly before. It used to be that you couldn't ship it until the third Thursday in November, but these days for places like New Zealand where we are, all that stock's already in place and was ready to sell fresh this morning. I'm not actually tasting Beaujolais Nouveau today. What I've got is a Morgon. It's a rather good one. It's a wine called Les Impenitents, and that's from a producer, a brother and sister, Louis and Claude Desvignes, and that's from the village of Morgon. So Morgon, one of the crus of Beaujolais. Now beyond that, Les Impenitents is from a particular climat. There are 6 principal climats in Morgon, and to the south of this particular one's to the south of Villé-Morgon, the village around which all this is all centred, and that's the climat of the Côte de Puy, which is reckoned to be the most prestigious of the crus. It has fractured granitic soil, which is really good at, like most of the soil of the area, and which is really good at reducing the vigour of the Gamay vine that produces these, because otherwise it doesn't, if you don't reduce the vigour sufficiently, the vine produces too much fruit and you end up with very tannic, less ripe grapes, and therefore you get quite astringent and harsh wine, which is also why they use the production methods they do. So this is from this good climat, the Côte de Puy. Not only that, but within the Côte de Puy, this is from a vineyard called Javenière. I doubt you can see it there, but it's 2019 vintage. Javenière, quite a special vineyard. These producers do actually produce, the Louis and Claude actually produce their own wine from that vineyard. Most of the vines there are 60 years old, so again, old vines, reducing yield, producing riper fruit. But Les Impenitents is a particular cuvée made from one tiny patch of vines they have there that are 100 years old, so even more concentrated, lower yielding grapevines there. In terms of production, I keep referring to them as Louis and Claude, who are brother and sister, who are the winemakers here. My understanding is they actually prefer to be known by their second names, which is Benoit and Emmanuel, so my apologies to them for that. So they make their wines quite seriously, as you can imagine from what I've just said about the vineyard. So these are wines that, I mean, in general, Nouveau Beaujolais, for instance, would be made with really quite a brief vinification. You start off with the whole bunches. You don't destem them, so the berries are unbroken, and the bunches go into a vat which is filled with carbon dioxide. So this is what they call a semi-carbonic maceration. So the berries start to ferment without the influence of yeasts within themselves. They start to break down, and you'll get up to about a percentage of alcohol produced, because there's no air, and eventually the berries split and fermentation starts as per normal. Again, with Nouveau, you'll generally bottle the wine young and distributed in November, and presumably most of it's drunk within a few months of release, and it's a fun wine for celebration, but nothing too serious. This wine, on the other hand, will have spent longer macerating, so once the fermentation was going, the skins will stay in there for longer. It won't just be a sort of a 10-day ferment. It might spend, say, 3 weeks or so. And also to keep the cap of skins, which is where you're extracting the tannins, the flavours, the colours from, in that fermenting mass, they'll put a grid of a wooden grid down just to keep, which allows the juice to flow through, but just to keep the cap of skins submerged all the time, just to increase the extraction that you get from them. So some quite serious winemaking, and then almost certainly put into oak barrels to age for a short period of time, 6 months to a year or so. Probably not new oak in terms of that influence. So a quality approach to Beaujolais. So I've probably said enough about it now, but let's have a taste. First of all, looking at it, you've got a beautiful, bright, vibrant colour. you can probably see the sort of the reflection of the sun in the glass there. That's quite translucent. Swirling it, the aromas are sort of ripe berries, ripe red, very ripe red cherry, you know, verging on the black, not quite. Perhaps a note of pepper in there as well. Gosh, really lovely concentration in there. Very sort of licorice, ripe, black licorice sort of notes, but there's a slight almost prickle on the tongue, as if there's a tiny amount of CO2 retained. I mean, this is 2019, so it's 2 years old, so surprising that, but there's a really fresh acidity which makes it last well and enlivens the mouth. The fruit is lovely and dense, but quite sort of soft and rounded, and there's quite a simplicity to it. As I said, there's that, you've got that cherry, and then there's a spice afterwards, but the cherry note continues. The lovely acidity allows the flavours to last for a long time. The alcohol's relatively high. It says 14% on there, and there is a warmth to the finish, but it's not hot, it's not out of balance. And this really is, you know, a decent quality wine. So would be fantastic to drink with sort of, you know, stuff like cassoulet, which requires a big wine, or lovely rich spicy sausage, or some sort of, you know, quite rich meaty dish with plenty of fats and that sort of thing. So anyway, lovely Morgon there, Les Impenitents. I should say actually that on winesearcher's rankings of Beaujolais, this is the one that consistently comes out as our best buy in terms of the number of critics' reviews it gets and the quality that it's is seen in those over the years. So if you can pick up any, that's probably a really good buy. But Beaujolais, I guess there are two ways of looking at it. The nouveau is a great fun excuse for a party in the middle of November, and there are serious wines that, if you want a nice equivalent to something like a wine from Burgundy, it can be a great value option. So anyway, cheers everybody, bye now.